We'll start over. Welcome to Legal Knowledge, episode 402, the Triannual News Roundup. And like Diane Rehm says, why wait till Sunday when you can you can get your news today? The slogan for this is going to be, why wait another 3 years for the recession to be over and Access Tucson getting it, waiting for Access Tucson getting its funding back. You get all your news today. So I would like to mention, first of all, the Project White House results were in. As you can see back over here, I did actually tie for first place amongst the Project White House Green Party candidates. So that's completely awesome. And thank you all for voting. So I just want to say and thank you, Richard Grayson and Gary Sweet for running as well. And or Gary Swing, I mean, yeah, there he is. And so yes, and I also wanted to say on the Republican side. That Sarah Gonzalez got a huge number of votes, 1,500 or something. She actually had more votes than Buddy Roemer, and so she actually beat one of her actual legitimate Republican running mates, which was completely awesome. Now the Arizona legislature is trying to make it so that the only way that you can run for president in Arizona is if you're on the ballot in other states, and all this kind of crap. So yeah, well, that's just the news that's happened recently. But I just wanted to say yes, congratulations to everyone who ran, and thank you, Jim Netzel, for putting that all together, and Dave Maas for hosting. So that was awesome. I would like to then say hi, Kyler, and happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm all green here, so that's. So on with the news. The theme of this, I did want to, rather than just being completely, sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek with the, okay, it's been 3 years since the show's been on. With the way the access funding is going, that they're going down to one channel in July, it's probably not going to be on for another couple of years anyway, other than these, you get 5 episodes, once a month, the third Saturday of every month, so yeah. So I did want to say, though, that there's this, basically people seem to be noticing more and more, there's the whole 2012 thing, and I don't know, it really shouldn't matter at all, but I think that people, astronomically, it isn't very significant, other than that, that it does appear that the solar system is crossing the galactic ecliptic, like it kind of bobs up and down as it goes around. And it does this every couple, 26,000 years or something like that. Anyway, it'll and so that's happening. But other than that, the whole Mayan calendar thing, there's 20 total Baktuns, 20 of their long year type things that are 700 years long or whatever. We're just at the end of the 12th one, and we're going into the 13th one. That's all that is. And this is the 5th cycle of 20 of those. So that we're in the 13th, we'll have to get to 20, and then then they'll be in another cycle of it'll be the 5th one of those long cycles. So when we go into the 5th cycle, it'll actually be in the year 4,000 something, 4,772, I think, on October 13th or something strange, and I'm not sure if that's a Friday or anything, but yeah, it's not this year. So However, it does appear that people are waking up. And when I say waking up, I mean like they're becoming more aware of situations that are actually, you know, occurring, like with the whole, you know, I think a lot of it was the SOPA and PIPA internet censorship issues. You know, there were a whole lot of people that were, you know, just online signing petitions, calling representatives, doing whatever to try to get that to well, to stop, to have not to not have Congress try to censor the internet like China does, and it worked. You know, I mean, they didn't. They said okay, but I mean, they're still trying to do that. Obviously, you know they didn't say okay, we're never going to do it again, but you know it worked. The petition stopped those two bills from going through Congress. You know, there's the Occupy movement. There's, you know, all the people are waking up, and you know, it looks like when you do sort of, you know, because everything is so, you know, online, and you don't really talk to each other anymore. Like, you don't sit out in front of your houses and talk to your neighbors or anything like that. Like, there isn't really that sort of thing going on with how people really communicate with each other anymore. It's all online, and you know, if you're lucky, you can, you know, you Skype people on your video, and so, you know, it feels like, because of the way we interact, that we're all alone. And so when we become aware of these things, we feel like that we're alone. We're so not. I mean, we were not alone at all. If critical mass, if you need to get enough people to get a movement going, usually a critical mass is about 5% of the population, typically. And I would estimate that we're probably between 15 and 20%. So I would think that people are just being thrown this line of junk to say, you know, that we're not, you know, oh no, you're just isolated. You're not actually part of any kind of community or anything. And you know, there are many ways to find people and communicate online, but it's even better to actually, you know, just really talk to people and really actually meet people and talk to them, and just, you know, I mean, you can call in on the show and tell me what you think. But what I'm saying is, if there are really maybe, say, 15 to 20% of people who are aware of these things and are becoming aware, or at least marginally aware, you know, regardless, and I'll go through a whole list of things that we have to be aware of in a few here, but we need to just tell everyone. And when I say, I mean that you don't have to go out and tell everyone, but if everyone would tell maybe 4 or 5 people individually, and don't repeat, you know, you can't, you know, if you just tell random people, then I guess you probably would want to tell maybe like 10 people. But if everyone would individually tell, say, 5 people, we would have 100% coverage of people being, you know, understood. Obviously, there will be, you know, the 1% or the 0.001% who actually want people to be slaves, so that they can, you know, control all of the world and have everyone as their slaves and just live a life of whatever. So obviously, we won't be talking to them, but there's not too many of them. There's probably about 3,600 of them. So you know, those people, you just don't need to talk to them. And if there's 7 billion of us and 3,600 of them, I'm feeling that the 7 billion might outweigh the wants of the 3,600. I really do. You know, if we just ignore those 3,600 people, then maybe that would work. We just stop buying in, stop playing their game. Stop listening to Fox News. I had a little thing about Fox News, because it sounds like, especially when they say it really fast, they say, welcome to Fox News. And it's like, wait, did you just say Fox News? It's like, wait. And then what you say is Fox News, Fox News, Fox News. and it sounds like you're saying Fox News, but anyway, I'm not going to print it on the screen. So what do well, we have to be concerned about, say, well, yeah, just limited thinking. Fox News, we'll tell you what to think. I mean, we report, you decide. I mean, we will report in such a way that you can only come to one decision, the one that we want you to come to, because our reporting is so biased. Okay, it's not thinking critically, it's not, I mean, and I listen to NPR, and I think that some of their things are just not exactly correct either. I mean, I listen to Alex Jones and think that not all of his stuff is absolutely correct either. You know, coast to coast. You know, there are plenty of things where not all the reporting is completely accurate. I mean, there's that whole big thing about the Apple iPod, where they're grinding the dust off, the metal dust, well, the aluminum dust explodes in factories in Foxconn in China, and the awful working conditions, and looks like that while all the stories that the guy told were reality based, like when he said that he went over and he talked to these people, it was a complete fabrication. He didn't go over, well, he did go over, but he didn't talk to anybody. Well, he didn't, the people he talked to weren't the people that he said he talked to in the capacity that he talked to them. But he did tell stories that happened, they just didn't happen to him. So now it's like, it's a whole big lie, and the whole thing is, but it's, you know, it's not discredit, it's just that guy just decided instead of reporting the news, he would make up a story. Well, you see, this is the thing. What's going to happen, I fear, is that Apple's going to say, oh, well, that guy lied. We're not going to do anything about this then. And then China will not get... You see, China, if it keeps its wages down and keeps its growth up, it can economically overpower the U.S. And if the people want better working conditions and bring themselves up to our wage level and our, you know, if they get unions and, you know, they get their working conditions up, then all the workers, if we bring all the workers up in terms of wage and in terms of conditions, working conditions and safety, health and safety and you know, living conditions and whatnot, then we'll have a much more even playing field, and free trade will make sense at that point. Right now, fair trade would be the only thing that would make sense, because there's some countries that are way up here and other ones like China that are working up towards it, and other ones like India. And so that's the problem there is that you can't say that it's free trade when these need to be equaled out to make it fair trade. But that argument was being mentioned back when GATT was, you know, still being debated in, what, 1986, 88, something like that, 84, when was that? Yeah, anyway, but it's the argument is still valid. That's why everyone was against the WTO, because it shouldn't be about free trade. Anyway, what do we have to wake up about aside from that? And I mentioned the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. There's down here in yeah, it's way down here. I have a article about that somewhere. Anyway, it's the National Defense Authorization Act, and what it is there it is. That was way down there. It's what it does is it authorizes the fact that the Congress is spending money on defense. Okay, so it's a spending authorization act. Now, however, usually it's a very boring thing. It usually just has numbers in it for this program, we're going to be allocating this much money for this thing. For this program, well, okay, that's usually what it is. Now, this last time, that's not what it was. What they did this last time was that they had a whole section, there's a Title 12, and then there's a Title, it was the one that was Section 1021 and 1022 in there, and what it said is that the president will be able to go ahead and infinitely detain any person suspected of being a terrorist or even being belligerent, or any person who has committed a belligerent act. That's in Section 1021b2. And as I wrote there, if I'm walking down the street quickly and pushing through a crowd, am I being belligerent? And so can I then be held indefinitely? And this is, without trial, habeas corpus, anything, without being charged. You just, they take you and they ship you out. Obviously, that is not something that is, is allowed under the Constitution as we know it. And so I said that we ought to hold as belligerents all the people that passed the NDAA and then signed it into law, and then prove them in Guantanamo and see if that because, well, that is being belligerent. But what we need to do is it needs to be repealed, obviously, and that is the first step in one that they're trying to another thing that they're trying to do right now. It's called the Enemy Expatriation Act, and what that does is it would allow people to it would allow the president to strip the citizenship of any person, just again without any trial, any kind of just no, you're no longer a citizen of the United States. You are no longer, and then oh, by the way, now it doesn't matter under NDAA whether or not it would apply to U.S. citizens, because now we've just taken your citizenship and now we can throw you into the Gitmo. And so, and obviously, the targeted killings, which would be assassination, that's a euphemism. That would be assassination. If you're targeting someone to be killed, tell me how that is not assassination. All right, and we have your drone strikes, that with and then if not outright, death for anyone who disagrees with, and then you go to Gitmo, and so then you're in D4, Delta 4, and Gitmo. Great. It's Obama said that he was gonna not use this for evil purposes, and so did Google say that they don't be evil, and look what's happening. So let's say Obama doesn't do it. Who's next after Obama? Romney, Santorum. I bet Santorum would probably use it to throw every abortion doctor in the United States goes to Gitmo if you elect Santorum, right? Probably. I mean, he's got the authority. It's right there. Obama signed it, and so you can just pick and choose. He wants a theocracy, so if Santorum gets elected, then that would mean that now you have now the government is a theocracy because Santorum wants it to be that, and so because he said that he would prefer to have a theocracy in the United States, and of course it has to be a Christian theocracy. It can't be Sharia law. So anyone who's against the theocracy, now you can throw them into Guantanamo Bay. So how about all the women on birth control? Can we throw them into, That's great. Why would you do that? You know, and if you're gonna throw all the women that are on birth control into Guantanamo Bay, like I would like to be thrown into Guantanamo Bay. All right, I'm just saying. All right. Anyway, um, there are, you know, that now there are bills in Congress which will not allow you to go in and protest wherever you want because that is a right of freedom of assembly. It's in the First Amendment. Now we have free speech zones instead. You know, if you thought that Bush was bad, you know, it's Obama is like, you know, 50 times worse. I what a betrayal, you know. I mean, I thought maybe, you know what? Seriously, when Clinton was elected, I was like, okay, good. At least it's not Bush and Reagan and oh my God, this was awful, you know. I mean, I was like 8 when he got elected, so it's, you know, I barely remember Carter, but I do remember him, and you know, it was there were just the whole crackdown on unions, the whole like it was like this isn't right. This, and then NAFTA and everything like that. And then Clinton didn't stop that. You know, it's like you thought that when you elect someone from, and that's where, you know, I really, you know, you really start to figure it out. It's like, oh, really? Okay, so the Democrats and the Republicans do the exact same thing. They just try to make it sound like they have some sort of difference. Oh wait, one likes gays in the military only if you ask and don't tell, or I mean don't ask, and then the other one, you know, they want no abortions, and is that the only difference? What else? Because economically they're all the same. They all support the Federal Reserve Bank. They all support wars. They all support, you know, imperialism by the U.S. They all support the UN. They all support, you know, I mean, there's, you know, when are we going to get someone who's different? And that's, you know, that's why we did that thing, you know, with the Project White House, is to show, look, you know, not all of everyone believes this one way of you know, where you have to be exactly according to the banks and according to, you know, all the people that all the lobbyists and the Chamber of Commerce and the, you know, I mean, it's when are we going to end up with somebody who's not that way as president? And that's, you know, okay, so the other thing that's going on here, there's another AIG bailout going on. Yes, for real. This time they're trying not to tell anyone, which makes it a little bit more repugnant because it's, wait, you're trying to bail out AIG again in secret, and these bailout funds are coming from TARP, and they're going to AIG, and they're going to their executives for bonuses again, and they're going to bump up their stock price, and they're not going to make sure that anything is actually better with AIG in terms of their financial stability. Great. Okay, well, fortunately, Elizabeth Warren, she's actually still working with the TARP program. She's also running for Ted Kennedy's old seat against Scott Brown, the Tea Party guy. Yeah, so hopefully she'll win there. She'll probably have to obviously give up her post, but Elizabeth Warren was the person who mentioned this about AIG getting a new secret bailout. You know, we still have the complete non-investigation of Wall Street. I mean, the whole banking industry, the whole, I mean, too bad we can't investigate London, you know. The Department of Homeland Security is, you know, has been cracking down. The Obama administration has been telling, having the Department of Homeland Security go out and tell the mayors of cities, having the DHS go out and have like little, you know, meetings with the mayors of various cities, and here's how you quell the 99% Occupy protests in your city. Here's what you can do. Here's, you know, use these sound weapons, use these, microwaves, um, and Obama is supporting the crackdown on the Occupy movement. So we know whose side he's on, obviously, not ours. I mean, he's just another bankster friend. He's obviously, supported by the Wall Street people. He's not touching them. He's bailing out AIG again. I mean, it's not Congress who controls TARP. Um, so the other thing that I also would like to mention up here, and it's probably way up here. Let me see where it is. Okay. And yeah, here it is. Well, Monsanto, if you know what that is, it's this. Monsanto is a chemical company, and somehow they got into food production. And what they are doing is they are putting genetically modified organisms into our food in about pretty much as they can, wherever they can, to the largest degree possible. And it's been shown that genetically modified food is obviously not good for you. It does tend to make okay. It can change your genome essentially. It can mess with your DNA, and so the funny thing is that, and this it sounds like the Greg Palast had that thing. He coined the term the Bush cycle, or basically it's the revolving door of people going in and out of the administration. He was referring to the Bush administration, but it appears that it doesn't matter which administration it is. It looks like it's both, because he started back. Well, this guy, his name is Michael Taylor, and right now he's head of the FDA. But he used to be Monsanto's trial lawyer. And you can look him up. He's got a wiki page. So what's going on here is that this guy, Taylor, has been in and out of the FDA on multiple times, in multiple levels. Now he's head. He used to be like an undersecretary. But he is directly responsible for greenlighting all these GM foods that are being put in. Now, a lot of this is going into like feedstocks. So like when when you feed your chicken or your cows or whatever, the feed that you use. So it's like right now it's in alfalfa and soybeans. If you can buy this stuff in any other sugars than pure cane sugar, if you get pure cane sugar, you're fine. Or you get your sugars from fruits the way you should, rather than from. But if you get it from sugar beets, that's GM. These are all genetically modified. The problem is that corn is and soy. And I'm vegetarian, and so I tend to eat a lot of soy. So I'm wondering if I'm not, getting this. And I've stopped eating corn, because almost all corn, unless it's organic, certified organic, it's going to be basically genetically modified somehow. Papayas, cottonseed oil, yellow squash. But anyway, alfalfa is what they usually put and some cornmeal is what they put in the feedstocks mostly. So if you have eaten any chicken or beef or any kind of meats that get feedstocks, they're all fed GM feedstocks. So that makes all your chicken and meat and everything, they've been fed entirely genetically modified diets. So so if it's going to go through and change their genome, it's going to do that to that part of the food chain. Then you're eating it after that, so it's just going higher up the food chain and concentrating more and more in you. So there's this Bt toxin that they're using right now. Uh, and what they do is they'll put. Okay, that's fun. Hey Lisa, if you can hear me out there, you need to call line 4. Um, uh, anyway, Bt toxin is in a lot of the. It's what they do is they actually have in the genome, they make the genes produce, you know how, your genes produce proteins and stuff like that, right? Okay, that's how that works, right? Because, you got your, what are they called? The nucleotides, and they combine to make the the proteins, which then get, depending on which genes are next to each other, you get various different proteins. And so what they've done is they've figured out how to fix them together to make these things that are like these Roundup resistant proteins in the genome, and one of them is this Bt toxin that will kill. It's an insecticide. It will kill insects, and it does that by making their stomachs and things turn to goo, essentially, to like a gel, and then it makes the it basically deteriorates the lining of the stomach and of the skin, and so that it just, it's like popping a balloon, and it just yeah, and turns to, it basically makes the bugs explode. But you can, if you take enough of this stuff, the same thing would happen to you. Here are some people that were in Monsanto: Clarence Thomas, Michael Taylor, Michael Friedman. He was in the FDA. Linda Fisher was in the EPA, not the FDA, but and then Searle, Monsanto purchased Searle, and Rumsfeld made a whole lot of money from that. That's a known. And so what we need to do here is basically get Taylor and all his Monsanto people out of the FDA. All right, so that's going to be, well, how do you do, well, petitions, hopefully. You need to get that done. What's going on this November here is in California, which is nice because California, being as populous as it is, 50-some plus 60 million people, if they say something in California, that's like about a seventh, a sixth, a seventh or so of the population of the United States. So they're going to be, basically controlling what they're saying is they want a bill to have to label genetically modified ingredients. In Europe, they have all of anything that's genetically modified has to be labeled already. In the European Union, the entire EU has that rule, has that policy in place. They don't want it. Monsanto does not want that to happen here in the U.S. So they'll say that it's going to be expensive for the companies to change all their labeling. Well, the companies, here's what's going to happen. The companies are not going to change their labeling. What they're going to do is they're just going to stop putting genetically modified food in their products. And they're not, and the other thing is companies change their labeling all the time, and it doesn't result in price increases for food. So these are the kind of lies that they're going to say to try to stop. Monsanto will try to say these fabrications in order to try to stop this bill from happening in California. But hopefully that will happen. So if you live in California and you're listening to this, uh, please go ahead and vote for the labeling in California this November. There's another thing that's happening, the Food Safety Modernization Act. Back in the Soviet Union, they made it, well, they first made it illegal for you to own a garden, and then they made you pay if you wanted to have a garden. You had to, you had to buy your food from the collective, the farmers collectives, so the farmers collectives would, I mean, they didn't, in communism, well, not Soviet communism, but in pure communism, money's not required. You just go ahead and do stuff because it needs to get done. Now, that's not the way they did it in the Soviet Union, but they made it so that what you see in the Soviet Union, it was the state that was needed to have all the people go toward its industries or its farms or whatever. In the United States, we're going to, because I guess we're using fascism as our policy now instead of, I mean, it's gone beyond capitalism. It's gone to where, you got Michael Taylor, who is obviously a corporate person in Monsanto, heading up the administration's, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, which is meant to oversee the industry from which he originated. Okay, and that can't, you can't have people doing that and expect to say that you still live in a free country that doesn't get its control directly by corporations. And so obviously that's what's going on here. So if we're in this fascist state, what we're looking at here is another bill to make it so that basically they're saying it's so that the food is safe. It has to be. It requires organic. Well, it doesn't require non-organic farmers to submit to any tests. But if you're organic farmers, then you have to make sure your food is safe. And if you're growing your own garden, oh no, you don't. No, you can't grow your own food because do you know how unsafe that is? I mean, do you know that we've been, growing food for millennia in our own gardens and nothing has happened. Nothing at all. It's perfectly safe. It's much more safe than using genetically modified ingredients. But they will tell you, no, you can't do that. It's unsafe. We need to stop. It's Senate Bill 510 in its tracks. It's completely ridiculous. It's probably another Bilderberg ploy to call more of the population. About GMO foods, there's some great things on this website here at michaelotman.net. That's non-GMOshoppingguide.com, seedsofdeception.com. It's a movie. Responsibletechnology.org and Intrepid Magazine, but just mag.com. That's about GMO foods. Check those out. Go to the michaelotman.net to find the links for that. It's under the article Truth, Transparency, and Trust. And so that's that about Monsanto. Oh, yes, the other day, Leon Panetta, he had Marines disarm for his speech that he gave over in Afghanistan. He was citing security concerns. I'm not exactly sure. Panetta, who is the Pentagon head, the head of the Defense, Department of Defense, he had Marines disarm. Now, I'm sure you've seen, the Full Metal Jacket and all that. You're supposed to keep your weapon with you at all times. You're never supposed to let. So he had Marines disarm. He had them put their guns away. He was worried, that someone was going to shoot him. Really? Why? Maybe the Marines are not cooperating with, what if the Marines are told to go and say, I don't know, attack the citizenry of the U.S.? They shouldn't. They should disobey any unlawful order. And in fact, probably shoot the person giving the order. Maybe that's what Panetta was worried about. You know, I mean, it's possible. Um, let's see. There's, oh, yes, yes. I just heard it on InfoWars on Alex Jones' show. He talks a lot about the TSA, I guess there's a new South Park episode out, and there's apparently, people are acronyming TSA now. It's what the Transportation Safety Administration, I guess, is what the real acronym is. Anyway, I guess you can come up if anyone wants to call in with your acronyms for the TSA. Here, I'll put the numbers up. We only have a couple more minutes, about 15. So I'll take a few calls here, but I did want to talk about a number of other things. But if you want to call in, I don't see anyone calling in yet. But yeah, if you want to, did I? Oh, wait, hold on. I forget to put it on. Here you go. All right. Yeah, there's the numbers right there on the screen. All right. So yeah, there's when you can either run through the gamut of the radiation screening, where they it's like the thing in Total Recall where they can see your whatever through your clothes and whatnot. What you can if you there's two different things now that you can do to you can avoid the pat down if you don't like the pat downs where they they reach in and try to see. Well, I don't know what they're measuring exactly, or funneling or whatever. Anyway. If you don't want those pat downs, you can get a double dose. You can run through because apparently you can't see everything the first time, right? Why would you have to do it twice? Anyway, you can get a double dose of radiation if you want to avoid the pat down. You just have to walk through the scanning thing twice. Now, why would that? What are they going to see the second time that they're not going to see the first time that they would be able to catch on a pat down that they wouldn't be able to catch on? So. It sounds like they're just trying to say, look, either you have to submit to the humiliation of being patted down and groped and fondled and, having your genitals touched and whatever, or, you can go and get an extra dose of radiation. Okay, then the other thing that I heard is that if you don't want to do any of those things, you can pay. Yes, they are taking bribes. You can, yes. You can pay them, and then you don't have to get. Now, I don't know what that's supposed to accomplish. Okay, so let's say I have a bomb, and I pay them, and then I blow up the plane. All right. So what else don't we know about? What's in the Georgia Guidestones? What's the first rule? What's the first thing up on the list? Here. Should have had this up here. Very quickly. Oh, yeah. I have to put it in this search one because I'm not using I usually use Chameleon for the web browser, but I'm using the Access Tucson version right here, so I have to deal with the fact that they don't have my browser. All right, what are the Georgia Guidestones? Right here, they have these inscriptions on them. Maintain humanity under 500 million people, under 500 million, in perpetual balance with nature. Now, it's okay. In perpetual balance with nature. All right, all right, all right. Okay, nice clause. However, that doesn't really matter. Maintain humanity under 500 million. Okay, that means that there are right now there are 14 times that many people, 7 billion people on the planet. So 13 out of 14 people have to not be around for that. Now, how does that happen? Do you poison them with genetically modified food? Do you dose them when they get on a plane with deadly radiation? Do you, oh, I don't know, you can targeted kill them. You can send them to Guantanamo where they'll die. You can, let's see, we could have more wars. Maybe we could have a nuclear Iran that nukes something. I don't know. Maybe, there's, okay, anyway. Some of these things here actually are not. It's basically the first one, although this sounds a whole lot like eugenics. Guide reproduction wisely. Improving fitness and diversity. It sounds exactly like eugenics. Unite humanity with a living language, a living new language. So a new language other than English that's living, which means that it changes, which means that things don't mean one day what they mean the next day. Well, So, don't have passion, don't have faith, don't have tradition, and if you do, have them tempered with reason. Okay, that's not that bad. Here's the international criminal courts right there. Okay, again, yeah. And fair and just. I'm not exactly fair laws and just courts. Okay. Well, I guess, okay. Does China have just courts? Does Iran have just courts? Do they have fair laws? Okay, right. I think we have fairly fair laws and not always just courts. But petty laws, useless officials, okay, yeah, that's okay. Balance personal rights as social duties. Well, okay. Well, sure, okay. I mean, does that mean that my rights are limited because I have to perform social duties? Well, okay. I mean, why can't I have both? Why can't I do social duties and have personal rights? I don't know if I agree with that. Okay, well, yeah, okay, okay, these are fine, yeah. I mean, but, okay, so that's the Georgia Guidestones. There's a couple more things that I want to mention. Yes. One more good news item here. The last mission of the that sounds funny. The last mission of the USS Enterprise. I'm talking about the aircraft carrier, not the Star Trek ship. The nuclear aircraft carrier Enterprise just sailed out of Norfolk, Virginia, and it's declared to be on its last mission. Where's it going? Oh, it sounds like another Gulf of Tonkin incident. It sounds like it's going to get itself sunk in the Strait of Hormuz. Only maybe this time they'll actually sink the Enterprise instead of doing absolutely nothing. I mean, the Gulf of Tonkin, what happened is no one attacked anyone, and then they said that there were all these boats attacking the U.S. flotilla outside of Vietnam, and that didn't happen at all. Like, it was completely fabricated. It was a lie. So then we went to war. The Vietnam War happened as a result of that. Maybe we'll sink our own ship this time. But it'll be the Enterprise, undoubtedly, because we've been told right now already that it's its last mission. If we do end up sinking it in the middle of the Strait of Hormuz, and it's a 30-mile strait, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for a 1/4 of a mile ship to block a 30-mile strait. But, depending on where they put it, I guess. You see, blocking the oil shipments from the Strait of Hormuz doesn't really affect the U.S. We get maybe like a third. We get most of our oil from Canada and Venezuela, oddly enough. Considering how much we don't like Chavez and Chavez doesn't like us, we certainly get a lot of their oil. We get a lot of our oil from Saudi Arabia, and we don't really get very much oil at all from Iran, hardly any. We get a little bit now that British Petroleum and Shell have taken back over the oil interests in Iraq, and then there's Kuwait, obviously. So we don't get that much oil through the Strait of Hormuz. What it will do, though, it won't stop our oil from getting to us, but it will probably make the price of oil go way up. Like, well, with speculation. It won't change the cost of getting the oil from place to place. But because people will panic in the energy markets, the price of oil will skyrocket. And you see, what it will actually do in terms of physically hurting a country from getting actual physical oil, it will hurt China and Iran, actually, because China basically gets almost, I think it's like 85% of the oil that Iran sends out goes to China. So China will be losing that oil, and then China refines that oil then, because Iran doesn't have any refineries. I know. And then so they're going to end up not having, because what happens is Iran makes the oil, they ship it down through the strait around and up to China where it's refined, and then they ship it back up to Iran as gasoline, so that Iran has gasoline. So Iran won't have gas, and China won't be able to refine oil and have their gas and make their kerosene or whatever other petroleum byproducts. So that's who it's going to hurt, and then it's going to help all the energy speculators, and because they're going to get rich on the speculation, and then it's you see the energy company like Exxon and the oil companies don't pay the speculative price on the oil because they've already negotiated contracts. The speculative price is there for people who want to speculate, essentially. So you end up with that being just a joke, essentially. It's not even what it does do is it changes the price at the pump, because the energy companies say, well, the price of oil went up this much, so we get to commensurately. I mean, the cost of crude oil is only 40% of the cost of the entire production cycle of a gallon of gasoline or a dollar of gasoline or whatever. It's of the same quantity of gasoline that it makes. It's the cost that goes in. You got transportation, you have administrative costs, you have the refining costs, you have the money that you kick down to the stations. All that goes in there, and that's more than the cost of the crude oil. So when the cost of crude oil doubles, the cost of gas should go up by 40%. However, that's not what's been happening, and the oil companies have been getting super rich. There's an easy way to stop that. Would be to to just say, well, no more energy speculation. Period. Like, you just don't speculate on energy anymore. I think we're